Halo, the Master Chief Collection. We're in Halo 3 ODST Firefight. So with the latest update to the game, in order to bring Firefight and ODST to the PC version of the Master Chief Collection, on Xbox we're also getting Firefight from Halo 3 ODST included within that game. So if you grabbed the Halo 3 ODST release within Halo MCC, you'll have access to this, or if you're also on Game Pass. So yeah, keep that in mind. So with the Firefight, essentially you're trying to survive waves of enemies, and yeah, it's quite interesting and quite a lot of fun. So there's a more serious option where it's the traditional Firefight style, and then there's this mode where this is a arcade style and take on it. So you get like a random powerful weapon, and you just kind of go from there trying to survive the waves. So it is a smaller version of Firefight. There's a set time because matchmaking wise, you know, honestly it took forever to sit here and play a game. Mostly people used to get bored. So now they've got it fine-tuned. It's quick matchmaking, it's quick matches, well, quicker matches. It's still a fairly decent length for a match. As you can see in the corner there, it's about 20 minutes, depending on how fast your crew is at moving through the particular, level. There is the traditional mode too. If you want to play in, a custom game, you can set it up with all the different maps. There's also Firefight for Reach that was already available if you didn't know about that, but this is specifically adding in the legendary Firefight for ODST, which was, quite a bit harder. You're like these smaller non-Spartan characters, you're the orbital shock troopers, and you're coming in here trying to fend off the Covenant on various levels. And they're all levels that are basically set on actual levels within the ODST campaign. Of course, if you haven't played that, I most certainly suggest you doing so. It's really quite great and certainly enjoyable. I wish I was able to pick up more weapons right now. This particular one doesn't allow you to, which is a little disappointing, so maybe I should have showed off the traditional one. But this is kind of fun, a little bit easier going, and shows off a little bit of the atmosphere of what Firefight is. So it's actually pretty fun. You're surviving the waves, you're battling the different tiers of enemies that come down. With the arcade mode, they got all these different skulls that come on. If you make it to the end, you get like a bonus round, which is kind of cool. Get a visor thing. It looks like somebody quit from our squad already, which is a bit disappointing. Last few matches have been actually pretty good for people staying with it, so it was a little, again, disappointing to see that. But whatever the case, it's actually quite fun. It's quite intense. It's a little bit more dangerous than you might be, familiar with when it comes to Halo titles if you're used to being the powerful Spartans, because you are just a regular person. You are also trying to battle to increase your multiplier in order to get a better score. You see that in the top right corner of the screen. So it's a very clean UI. It takes the Halo 3 style of, the Master Chief Collection being, well, this is from Halo 3 ODST, which was a direct kind of spin-off of Halo 3 at the time. It very much is its own experience, but it is basically a very similar title. And you're coming down here in a great selection of maps. They really do have some really well done Firefight maps. This one's pretty cool. There's one in like the Savannah area that I really liked. Couple different ones where you're defending like higher tier areas up in the sky. Those are kind of cool. It's just a very, very different sort of experience in Halo. It's a great cooperative time, whether you're playing with friends or, again, randomly matchmake here with others online. It's really, really quite cool. A good variation of enemies and just many ways to experience it. Now, they didn't add any new achievements for this, and I don't believe they're planning on doing so, which is a little bit disappointing because it gives you something to work towards, when you are wanting to play this one. But it's not the biggest deal in the world, It's still fun just to jump in here and have some good Firefight matches, and I'm glad they brought it back because it's a very, again, different part of Halo, It's not exactly the same as the other ones. Oh, we do have 4 people again. I thought he quit. It looks like we got 4 again. But, yeah, it's very neat. See, again, like, you can see the little soldier guys, the little ODST guys. They're not quite as tough as the primary individuals. They also added a new season of content in the game, so you can have more customization in Halo 3, which is, like, totally weird to see, but you can turn that off if you're not interested in it. It's entirely cosmetic visually through like a sort of battle pass, but you know, not really. So it's all free anyways to begin. But yeah, it's kind of a neat mode. There's a good amount of challenge to it. The enemies you have to face, different styles of like the arcade action you want to go through, and it's just like a deadly time because you're these guys that, you know, can seriously get messed up pretty quickly. And you gotta be careful because, you know, things like these brutes will just seriously mess you up because they are much, much tougher than you are as like this little person with really no shield or anything like that. Most of the time you have your signature pistol. Last time we were doing like a rockets version of this because it's kind of random. There's lots of different types of firefight modes you can get into. But last time we had rockets and we had the pistol, so I could show that off. So I was like, oh, okay, maybe I'll get here again, but not with this particular combination because it's random when you're matchmaking, right? And this particular thing. There's also the heroic option too, which I guess is the traditional type of firefight for matchmaking, and it just offers pretty good variation. It's pretty fun action, good challenge if you want it. Something different in Halo if you're not wanting to like straight up compete with others. You know, you can come in here and actually work together. And that PvE element of play that the Chief Collection doesn't have a whole lot of. And I think this adds to that, you know, kind of area of the game quite well. And I think with that, they've essentially added all of the Halo content that was missing into the game, unless I'm forgetting anything. This is sort of that last piece of the puzzle. Ow! Piece of the ship came down. So it's great to see this included because that was like one of the things I had really wanted when they added ODST originally when they just did the campaign. I was like, oh, I really wanted the firefight mode. It's kind of a fun thing to, you know, do on the odd occasion to check out, and it plays really good. You know, it's quite fluid. It looks way better than it ever did, and performance-wise, you know, it's really, really good now. It actually very clean, very smooth. And if you're familiar with Halo and you haven't seen Firefight before, this particular version of it, or ODST in general, it's a very kind of grim, sort of dark-esque sort of environment setup. You'd see that with the look and everything. It's vibrant in the sense that, you know, the increased resolution and, you know, FPS really do make it shine. But it's still got that sort of washed-out dark look to it, which is perfectly on brand for the sort of grim, dark story that it's telling. You know, these characters are in a bad situation, and you're sort of fighting back in this area against overwhelming odds, and you don't necessarily have, like, a Spartan to do all the work for you. You're just regular grunts fighting for humanity against these waves of, like, brutes in the Covenant, right? Which is really, I don't know, I think it's kind of interesting. They've definitely delivered some fun, entertaining gameplay with this. I think it's a great addition to the game. It's nice to see the continued support for the Master Chief Collection over time. You know, it matters a lot to me as a big Halo fan to see these experiences being continued forward, to have these options to continue playing the content, and at this point to really feel as though the Chief Collection is complete. I mean, I guess they could add Halo 5 to the bundle. That would be neat, just to have all the Halo under one roof, but yeah, I'm more than pleased with it. If you haven't played the overall Chief Collection, you know, you're definitely missing out on one of the greatest compilations in gaming history, perhaps the greatest deal in gaming history in regards to buying a single, you know, sort of remastered or collective pack. It's really quite interesting, especially with the work they've done technology-wise to get this running with the 4K, the HDR, the fluidity at 60 FPS. It's absolutely delightful, and that shines through particularly when we come in here to play on this map. I mean, it's gorgeous. It's a lovely time. It's a good challenge. I'm sure it's something you'll enjoy if you want to give it a whirl, because I mean, I'm having a good time just sort of chatting away and blasting enemies as I go along here with my squadron. It's just easygoing matches. I think they found that sweet spot for how long games take in regards to the progression. I think they've put together something that feels good, feels exciting to play, and delivers something that is engaging and perhaps also competitive and challenging for those players that feel as though they need that extra gripping action, and that is ODST, or well, I guess you could say the full line of Halo 3 ODST Firefight, now included right alongside Halo Reach Firefight, and growing the Master Chief Collection to really have the full breadth, and well, the full scope of this franchise in one insane package.